In this video today, we're going to be taking a look at the Summit Landscape Photography Filter System made by PolarPro. Stick around. Good to see you as always. My name is Todd Dominey. This video today is going to be a first impressions review. I'm not calling this a final complete review because I feel like with a product like this, which is designed for landscape photography, I feel like this is the kind of thing that you really have to live with for a while, you have to travel with, you have to backpack with. And right now, obviously, because of the current state of the world and COVID-19 and travel restrictions, many of us aren't able to travel right now, at least I'm not. Instead of doing that, what I'm going to do is offer a first impressions of the product. Now, I mean, really, come on. I mean, look at this. I mean, this is just incredible. I mean, when you think about, other products that you buy, you go out and you buy a new camera, a new lens, whatever, and it typically comes in a white box with, or a white sleeve with the product shot on a white background. And whereas this, if this doesn't inspire you, and if this doesn't make you feel like you bought something that's really premium and special, I don't know what will, because I mean, this is just absolutely beautiful. So there's a little gold pull tab down here at the bottom of the box, at the bottom of this flap that matches the brand identity of PolarPro. Lift this up, and inside is the kit. So just for the sake of time, I already pulled everything out here. And to clarify, what we're looking at here is the landscape photography kit. This is a kit that comes with these specific items. Now, these items can be purchased separately, and you can customize your own kit. You can build out, whatever it is that you want through PolarPro's website. But this particular kit comes with the essentials, like the things that most landscape photographers, people like me, would want and would use. And then if you want additional filters and accessories, well, you can certainly add those on. So the star of the show here is this, of course, this is what they call the core. This is the main element which attaches to the front of the lens. This is what you insert filters into, and we're going to be getting into that in just a second. I also have here a couple of thread mounts. This is an 82mm thread mount. This is a 77, which pretty much covers all the lenses that I have. You can buy these thread mounts down to, I believe it's 62mm. I'll put the numbers up here on the screen. But if you have a lens with a smaller diameter than the minimum thread mount size that PolarPro offers, you can just get a step-up ring and use it with that. It also comes with a very large circular polarizer. I mean, if I had to guess, this is probably like 105mm or something. I mean, it's quite large. And it is specially designed for the Summit system. It doesn't have threads on it, so it's not the kind of thing that you can just use independently and attach to the front of a lens. It needs to be used with the core element here. And once we get into how this works, you'll see why that is. The landscape kit comes with a single solid square neutral density filter, and you can tell which one's in the pouch because it's printed down here in the lower right. This is kind of like almost like a rubberized stamp or something. It's not the kind of thing that's printed on the mesh and is eventually going to flake off. This filter is an ND64, which equates to a 6-stop reduction in light. So let's take this filter out and take a look at it. Now, if you have any experience using glass or acrylic, square or rectangular filters from other brands, you will immediately notice the difference with this. At least I do. Because unlike other filters, which are just glass, like when you buy the filter, it's just a cut piece of glass. It's not sharp or anything, but it is raw. It's unfinished around the outside of the glass. Whereas with this has cast aluminum all the way around the outside of the quartz glass that's inside here. This is not plastic. This is cast aluminum. Up here at the top of the filter is this brass pull tab, and it's also printed up here on the top of the filter, ND64 6-stop, so that when this is in the kit and like you're looking down from the back of the camera, you know exactly what it is that you currently have, what's currently in front of your lens. And this pull tab, of course, and we're gonna get into this more in just a second, makes it easy to pull the filter up and down. There's cast aluminum all the way around, means that you can grip the filter on all sides, unlike a raw glass or acrylic filter where, at least in my experience, you would have to grip it from the sides or kind of pinch it on the top in order to pull it up and down or slide it around. And eventually you kind of get smudge marks around the outside. And I don't know, if you're a little bit OCD about smudge marks and things like that, especially because it could affect your image. Something like this is just so smart, and I just love this. So next, let's talk about this flange, this hood that you see sticking off the front of the core unit here. This is a rubberized hood, and it kind of resembles like a matte box, right, that you would see on the front of a cinema camera, something a filmmaker would use. That's actually not coincidental, because PolarPro does make a sibling system to this called Basecamp, which utilizes similar design, similar hardware. The filters are different sizes, however. This hood, by the way, I mean, it's here so that it helps minimize glare, reflections. It may actually help protect the glass a little bit too. But if it bugs you, by the way, you can actually take this thing off. And I'm just gonna quickly do that. And now it almost looks more like a traditional filter holder that you would see from another company. Now, one little design detail I just have to point out here is that because this is square, and it kind of looks the same on all sides, you may be a little confused when you put it back on and wonder, okay, which side goes where again? Well, one really clever little thing they did here, they stamped a PolarPro logo here at the lower left, which matches up with a PolarPro logo down here on the actual kit. So it's pretty clear where it goes. All right, so first things first, we need to add the circular polarizer to the core unit. And what you do is you just pull this, there's a little pull tab here, and you just pull this brass tab out a little bit, insert the polarizer into this little, there's a little notch down here. You just insert it inside the notch, and then you push it in place, let go of the tab, and now it is sitting inside the frame and it's not going anywhere. Now, remember what I said earlier about the polarizer not being the kind of polarizer that you can use independently, that is designed for this system? Well, here's the reason why. The polarizer does not turn independently like a regular circular polarizer does. The polarizer turns using these turn knobs that are on the side of the core unit here. There's one on both sides, and you just turn this, and then when you do, the polarizer inside turns around. Quick tip, by the way, just make sure that when you are inserting this circular polarizer, that the type that is on the polarizer is facing you. It's not supposed to go the other way. Now, what I think is so smart about the circular polarizer design is the fact that with most filter kits like these, the kit is primarily designed just to hold a filter. The use of a circular polarizer is somewhat of a design afterthought. For example, I have a Lee filter kit system, which is perfectly fine, but in order to use a circular polarizer with it, I had to buy an extra accessory and then get a large 105 millimeter circular polarizer and put that out in front of the glass filters behind it. But what PolarPro did here is that they obviously looked at this, and they looked at what most photographers are doing when they are using these filter kit systems. Because, I mean, if you have a solid ND in here and you're a landscape photographer, chances are, half the time at least, maybe even more, you're shooting water, right? And if you're shooting water, then you want to get rid of polarized light. You want to be getting rid of those reflections in your shot so that you can be seeing through the water, so that you can be seeing more detail underneath. Perhaps there's some rocks underneath or something like that. Perhaps the rocks are wet and they're reflecting the light. That is where a circular polarizer becomes important, because it is not a filter which can be replicated digitally. You can't do it in Photoshop. It's the kind of thing that is baked into the photo. So circular polarizers are really important, and yet PolarPro, they're the company that when they came out with their own filter kit designed for landscape photographers, they were like, you know what? The circular polarizer is important. We should make it an integral part of the system so that it's not an afterthought, so that it's not an accessory, and it's not something that people are gonna have to struggle with. All right, so let's go ahead and mount this. Now, this particular lens, this is a 16 to 35 millimeter Canon lens, and I'm gonna add the 77 millimeter thread mount because that is what this lens uses. And it just screws on like that, like a regular filter would. So now we're going to attach the core unit. Now, when you do this, you kind of do it from the bottom up with a little bit of a tilt. So you just kind of stick it down into the groove on the inside, push it over on top, and then you tighten down this brass knob on top. And then it's in place. If you want to rotate the filter kit, by the way, 360 degrees, you just loosen this up, and you can turn around to any angle you want, which is helpful, especially if you're using that graduated ND filter and light's coming in from a particular angle. You can absolutely do that. All right, so let's add the solid neutral density filter here. Now, there are two slots on the inside, and this goes on the inside slot, and you'll see why here in just a second. Gonna add this in and then let it go. And it drops into place. I mean, come on. I mean, actually, let's listen to that again. Okay, the reason why I think this is amazing is, I mean, maybe this isn't novel or unique to someone who has experience with matte boxes, who's a filmmaker, things like that. But for me, and the types of filter kit systems that I've used for photography, like for example, the Lee filter system, because you're using that raw glass that I was talking about earlier, that you kind of have to slide down in front of the lens, and you're kind of trying to align and position a square on top of a circle, you know, with your lens being the circle, and you're trying to put this square filter on front, and you're trying to position it just right so that, you know, you have coverage and it's covering the front of the lens and you're not getting light in and all that. Whereas with this, I mean, like, you could be out in the field shooting, and if you don't want the filter, you just take it out. And when you do, you just put it back in and drop it in. The filter is flush with the housing. It's perfectly aligned with it. And you have this pull tab here that you can just pull the filter out like that. So now that we have the solid ND in, now occasionally you may want to use a graduated filter. There are some landscape photographers out there who swear by not using these. I mean, they prefer to do this type of effect in post using Lightroom, Capture One, whatever, by just dragging a graduated filter onto their image. However, if you are trying to, like, if you have a particular like troublesome area of your image, like if the sun is just really bright, the sky is bright, and the ground is darker, or vice versa, if you're in a particular landscape where, you know, because the ground can sometimes act like a mirror and the sun may bounce off the ground, and sometimes the foreground in front of you will be brighter than your subject. If that is the case, if the latter is the case, let me just quickly demonstrate this for you. You can actually insert this filter upside down, like you can push it in from the bottom. And now because it is graduated, because that neutral density reduction of light is a gradient just going all the way through the glass here, it is darkening my image down here at the bottom, but it is clear on top. So the image is gonna look normal up here, but we're going to be cutting down some of the light down here at the bottom. If we want it the other way around, you just turn this around like this and then drop it in place. And this one intentionally, the slot intentionally does not have a hard stop, unlike the solid ND, which just drops right into place. This one is more fluid. There is no hard stop, because then you're able to control how much of the effect you want. Basically, what I've done whenever I've used these types of filters is just look at the back of the camera in the viewfinder, push this in, and then just gradually push it down while watching the viewfinder on the back, and just see what happens, and just watch what's happening with the light. And if it starts to get a little too dark, just pull back a little bit and then take your image. One tip I will give you, by the way, from experience that I have found with these types of filters is that if you do use these, one thing I would absolutely do is, for every image that you shoot like this, pull it out, take another one without it. Because later you'll probably thank yourself, because you may get back later and think, wow, I really overdid it with that filter. It really wasn't necessary. Wish I didn't have it. Just always make sure you have coverage and that you are taking additional images without a graduated ND as well. Now remember these little brass screws that I took out earlier in order to remove the hood? Well, this is where they're actually used. You tighten these in when you have filters in the core, and when these are tightened up, then the filters don't move. They're locked in place. So if for some reason your camera were to turn over like this, your solid ND isn't going to drop out or anything like that. This also keeps the graduated filter from unnecessarily sliding around as well. You don't have to remove the screws in order to remove the filters, just to make sure there's no confusion there. You just loosen these up a little bit, and then you can take the filters back out again. So yeah, here is the full system together with the hood on. I went ahead and put it back on so you're able to see it. Oh, there's actually one thing that I forgot to cover, and that is the pouch that comes with it. This is a little case that comes with the Summit system. Let me demonstrate how this works. So we can just take this back off again. And let's say that you're packing up your bag, you're hiking on to some other location. Well, you can just take this whole thing off, even with both filters still in here. Might want to tighten down the screws on the outside just a little bit before doing so. And then you can drop this whole thing in the case. So the case is really rugged and nice. I mean, it has this nice rubberized bottom on the bottom of the case down here. So if you were to put it down on the ground like that, there's a handle, of course, up here on top for you to carry it around. There is a pouch, Velcro pouch on the outside that you could use to be holding your thread mounts when they're not in use. A little kind of like open pocket here on the back that, I don't know, you could put like microfiber cloths in, something like that. Loops here on the sides too, so that you could hang this on a bag or hang other things off of this. So the size of the pouch kind of has to be a little bit large in order for it to hold the pouch or hold the kit and to provide sufficient protection and padding for it. But it's you know, PolarPro obviously did not put any kind of belt loop on it or anything like that, but there really isn't a way to do that with this case. I mean, this is something you'd have to probably keep in your backpack. I mean, I don't know what the other option would be. I think it's kind of the size it has to be in order to, you know, hold a kit with these dimensions. Before we go, I want to answer a quick question, a rather important question actually. I posted a story over on Instagram just saying that I was going to be reviewing the system, and if anyone had any questions to let me know. I'll put my Instagram info up here, by the way, if you want to follow me over there. Someone named, a viewer named Pablo reached out to me and asked about focal length. What is the minimum focal length that you can use with the system? And he was asking specifically about a 14mm lens, which is a super wide angle lens, typically the kind that have that like convex bulbous glass on the front. Those types of lenses, those super wide angle lenses, require their own particular filter kit designs. They're not threaded like a regular lens. They're completely different. So no, the Summit system is not compatible with that. So is the Summit like the end-all be-all, the perfect landscape photography filter kit? Well, I do think there is one particular area which there is some room for improvement in the future if PolarPro were to revisit the design and come out with another version of this. And that is with the circular polarizer inside. Now, I love the fact that the circular filter is inside, it's not out here. Just really, really smart design overall. I think the only thing that's a little awkward is the fact that, as I said earlier, in order to turn the filter, it's not like turning a circular filter on the front like you may be accustomed to. You instead use these this brass dial. You can't really like use this one-handed, the wheel. Like you can't like hold your camera back here or something and then use your left hand to turn it. So what you have to do is you kind of have to use both hands, both thumbs. And part of the reason for that is because it's a little tight. It's not quite as smooth as a regular circular polarizer. And the cutout, the opening here, is not particularly large. It's a little small. So if, for example, you needed to rotate that circular polarizer all the way around like 180 degrees to get rid or to remove the effect if you didn't want it for some reason, well, it's kind of like a stair step, like incremental thing like this, right? You have to do it like a little bit at a time instead of just one full motion. Overall, first impression of the Summit system from PolarPro, I think this is such a just beautifully designed and engineered product, and a very thoughtful product as well. And I think that word in particular is important. Like, I think the hood is just such a cool and unique thing to be adding, and if it bugs you and you don't want it, you can easily take it off. But the star of the show, I mean, the main event here are these filters. The fact that they have this cast aluminum frame on the outside, this really just generous tab up here on the top that you could be pulling up and down. And of course, there is the circular polarizer. I mean, the fact that most filter kits out there, they're like, well, if you want a polarizer, you know, just put it on the front, or, you know, mount the kit to the polarizer, or maybe put the polarizer back here between the body and the lens. PolarPro decided, no, we're actually gonna take the polarizer and we're gonna build the whole kit around the polarizer. We're gonna put the polarizer inside the thing. And yes, I mean, as I said just a second ago, I think the action on the polarizer could be improved a little bit. I mean, it does just, I don't know, maybe it's the kind of thing, like I said, just need a little more time with, but I think that's one area that could be improved a little. For more information about the Summit system from PolarPro, check the link below in the description. And by the way, I should have mentioned this earlier. I totally forgot at the top of the video, but PolarPro is not sponsoring this video. They have not paid for it, nor did I pay for the Summit system. PolarPro sent it to me for the purposes of review and for my honest and candid feedback, thoughts, and opinion, which hopefully I provided ample enough of in this video today. That's it for me, everyone. Thanks to PolarPro for their support. I'll see you next time.